self-aware and see that there are other people out there modeling and acting and doing all these other great things, newscasters who have vitiligo, openly expressing it doesn't matter if you have it, you can still accomplish great things. And so I tell the parents to keep calm.
Keep calm, and one of the things that I tell them is build up their self-esteem.
Yes.
Keep their self-esteem healthy.
Yes.
But what I was wondering is, as the adult with vitiligo, and you work with children.
Yes.
For those people who are going to be parents who have vitiligo.
Oh, okay.
How will they explain to their kids? This is a question I get.
Okay. I think there's a number of different ways you can tackle that. Because I obviously do have vitiligo in my children. I have 6 of them, 2 pseudo-adopted and then 4 biological. I try to just be the best parent that I can. I explain, because they ask the same questions as their friends are going to ask.
Right.
I answer them honestly.
So what kind of questions do they ask you?
Will it ever go back? And normally I'll tell them, I hope it doesn't. Because what it does to me is it makes me unique and I'm proud of it.
Sure.
And I say that even when I don't feel as proud as I should about it. But for their sakes, I tell them I'm proud of it because it makes me unique.
Right.
Yeah,
kids are so easy.
I know.
Kids are easy.
Kids are really easy.
Yeah.
And when they start to get older, it does become a little harder. For those kids who are open, because I've run into kids who, even when I try to come and help them with their homework or something, they'll pull away or be scared because they don't think they can touch me. But then the kids that are open, I ignore it, but the kids that are open don't mind shaking my hand, don't mind giving me a hug here and there, and I go, okay, that's cool, and we share things, and the other students see, because of how I interact with the kids who eventually accept it, that it's okay to interact. And sometimes you just have to do the same thing. Stay calm. Don't get frustrated. Don't show that, you were offended by how they reacted to you, because even nowadays I have kids inch around me like I have leprosy or something, and I just have to go, it's okay.
Yeah.
Or the parents will come up and apologize. And there's nothing to apologize about. It's something different that they ran into.
Right.
I understand that there's some fear of the unknown. I don't mind. And don't worry about it. But as long as you stay calm, even if it bothers you to your core, because you feel that little stab of
Exactly. Right.
frustration, if you stay calm and just sort of address it, eventually everybody else starts to calm down as well.
Fake it till you make it.
That's it.
Yeah. Now, what about, I also get comments from people who are frustrated. They're so happy to use Vitiligo Revolution because now they can, this is what they'll say, now I can go to my children's events, now I can go on our family picnics. And as happy as I am that has made a difference in their life, it's also something that I feel like we need to talk about too. Like, what is a good way to not stop yourself from engaging in activities if you forget to put,
on your cover list, right?
Let's say that if I don't put this on, and somebody
You're
says,
not welcome in public.
Hey, do you want to go out tonight? I mean, if I'm feeling especially self-conscious that day, I might be like, oh, I don't know,
Right.
Which is ridiculous.
Right.
But what would you tell somebody like that, who feels that they distance themselves from the public,
There are 3 things that when you have vitiligo you have to do. The first thing is simply accept that you have it. The second thing you have to do is accept that you have it. So obviously the third thing you have to do is...
accept it.
Yes, accept it. Because if you don't accept it, no one else is going to accept you either. Because you know as well as I do, if you don't feel good about yourself, you're not going to feel good anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're the purest perfection of beauty that sociological society has. And, you glow like an angel anywhere you go. If you don't feel good about yourself, you're not going to feel good anywhere. And so the first thing you have to do is accept the fact that you have vitiligo. And if other people have a problem with it, then that's not your problem. That's their problem. And you can't be worried about everyone else's problems. You have to simply accept yourself and be happy with yourself. And that allows you to go anywhere you want.
Easier said than done.
It is. It is, and
Easier said.
it's a process.
Right. So what would be your?
It's a process.
What would be like 3 steps in the process?
3 steps in the process is first, making sure that you realize and understand that everyone has something that they don't like about themselves.
True.
It may not show
Right.
on the outside because so many people have problems. They're internalized. First, keep that in mind. And when you go out, you have to realize that people are going to look, whether you like it or not. It's something that's just going to happen. I mean, I've been recently working with a few individuals who have Williams syndrome, and I have 2 autistic children myself, so I have some ties in the autistic community. I used to have a brother-in-law who was also Down syndrome and autistic, and they're obviously different. So when we go out, everybody's staring because we're all different. So it's a fact of life. People are going to look. Even when you look beautiful, people are going to look. When you're a celebrity, paparazzis are going to come around. These are things externally that you might not want to deal with, but it's part of your existence. And you have to constantly remind yourself that it's part of your existence. And then you learn how to deal with it. You learn how to combat it. And I am a very open, positive person.
Yeah,
I will talk to the entire crowd.
Right.
You know, whether they're comfortable or not, it's just my personality.
Yes.
But not everybody I know is like that. But just a simple smile and a hi at least lets you know, lets them know that you acknowledge that they're looking at you. And it might just be because they're curious, not because you look funny to them, but they wonder what it is. Or maybe they have a friend
Maybe
who has it, and they just want to know.
A little bit too long, going, is that the child? Should I say something?
Right.
Like they're having this whole thought process, and
you
really
can break it down.
They're thinking while they're looking, not even realizing, oh my God, I've been staring this whole time. I've been thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I find more times than not, people are more curious than skeptical or afraid. And when you break down your barriers, and instead of looking away or shying away, when you open up and just, it could be just and everything else. But I have had people who were afraid to even shake my hand. When I put my hand out.
Yeah.
I mean,
did they say what they were afraid of?
No. It's almost like they're so embarrassed, and when I put my hand out, I just casually sort of leave it alone, and I just start to talk. Eventually, it would get around to the subject of what I do have and what it is and what's going on. And I try to lead in, and then they're comfortable enough to shake my hand. So often they'll apologize for not doing it at first because they didn't know what they should or should not do. And people have a fight or flight response.
Sure.
And they can't necessarily control their initial reaction. And it's not because they feel like they might catch it from you, but they don't know if they can.
Right.
And once you start talking,
illogical, but I
it
think
does. It's very illogical.
But I can see where people just not even thinking immediately don't. Just fight or flight.
Right. Even with a lot of my closest friends' kids, sometimes they're scared to even come near me. But then when they see that all the kids that I do know, I'm like the big uncle that, will do anything and everything with them because I just, I love kids in and of itself. It's why I teach now. But when they see that I'm comfortable with them and, I'm giving high fives and giving them dap and playing with their toys and they're playing with me and they finally feel comfortable and like, oh, nothing's wrong with him. I can, be around him and touch the same things he's touching. I'm not going to catch anything. So it's a slippery slope, but at the same token, it gives an open opportunity when you can communicate with people and show them that, you're keeping a positive attitude, even though sometimes, every time a kid is scared of me, I'm heartbroken.
Sure. Of course.
I'm crushed, but I have to keep the good face to...
Now, what do you say if a child comes up, not a teenager, let's say like a under 10-year-old, comes up to you and says, what's that? How do you explain it to them?
I tell them, first I usually ask them if they know what melanin is. Because sometimes it's a new word to them.
Sure.
And they go, well, what are you talking about? And I simply tell them, do you know how different people are different colors? And they're like, yeah. I was like, that's a little thing inside our skin called melanin. It makes us darker or lighter. And for some reason, what keeps me from getting a cold sometimes attacks that color, and it changes that color. But it's only on the inside of me. I can't give it to you like a cold. and they usually very quickly understand. They're like, oh, and then they want to touch it. And I let them touch my hand all they want, and they go, oh, okay. And then they feel comfortable and they run off and play. But then they start explaining it to their other friends as well.
That's good. Right,
And yeah,
right.
so it's exposure, and then it lessens my job, so then they understand.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, so now tell me, you mentioned that you've been writing a book.
Yes.
Yes, you're working
It's
on
technically
several.
done. It's on post-production now, yes.
Okay, and are you, so first I want to hear about the book. Tell me about the book. Then I'd like to know where people can get the book, and then how are you publishing it?
Okay.
Or who's publishing it, I guess.
Gotcha. Right now I'm talking to a publisher. Won't mention the name yet, but I'm also going to self-publish as well. That's my first step. I am actually working with an editor and an author who's also my mentor, who is also the producer that's putting together the October Speakers Legacy Tour in Canada. That's invited me and Denise to come and speak about vitiligo. So he's helping me getting it edited. Self-publishing and working with a publisher is my first step. It's called Moonshacks, A Tale of Two Colors. And it's basically a series of different stories that I've experienced in my life, and then sort of the conclusion of what I learned from those experiences. So it's one to show my trials and tribulations, and then what I learned from dealing with those trials and tribulations, and they're far and few between.
Well, it'll be great. It sounds very interesting, so people can, like, even if not every aspect, it sounds like people can grab something from one of the stories that
will hit home.
fit, and then they'll know, oh, I feel that same way too. And that's how you dealt with it. Maybe I can try that too.
Exactly. Yeah. I know I have my normal Facebook page. It's under Christopher James Mooney, but I also have my Vitiligo Voice of Victory page, which I pretty much honed the hashtags vitiligo writer and vitiligo poetry on.
We'll put all that on the webcast on the site too.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and a lot of that has a lot of my vitiligo poetry on it. It has some excerpts of some of the books that I'm writing from my Rorschach book. Well, Moonshacks is based on Rorschach. You know what Rorschach is the ink blotch test.
Right. I knew that part.
Okay, I call it Moonshacks because I'm Mooney, and I used to call my spots that create all these different patterns Moonshacks.
Okay, now I got it. That's good.
Okay. So it's my Moonshacks, and it's me. So.
And then your other books are about what?
I have.
They're
one is fantasy, about a young teenager who has vitiligo, who goes through her own trials and tribulations. Actually, one of the excerpts from the beginning chapters of my book is actually on my site.
Okay.
It's an unedited version, but it's there.
Yeah.
So that's there, and I do have a few others that I'm working on as well. They're in the pipeline. I also have a children's book series that I'm working on that I have 3 or 4 of them written. I can't say that. Technically, I have about 20 written. Some of them just need some fleshing out, but I have an illustrator starting to work on those as well. That'll be coming out, and it's based on a bear who basically looks like he has vitiligo, and he teaches things for children, from ABCs to challenges in life pertaining to being different.
Excellent.
So yes, I write just about everything. I try not to, but I do. But one of my very first published book articles has been placed with that I did for Denise Sawyer, who is the up-and-coming. She does runway models, and she does a lot of other models. Enchanting Model Magazine, the June 2018 edition, 103rd issue. But she has an 18-page pictorial spread.
Oh, wow.
And my article that I wrote called Beautiful Black Butterfly is in there.
I'll link to it in the show information.
Sure, absolutely.
So then people can get all that.
In there, and it expands about like 5 or 6 pages within that spread. So
excellent. Beautiful.
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with your friends and give us a positive review on iTunes. Bye.